Hello, my name is Caroline, but today you're going to know me as Cleo, your muse of history, as together we uncover the truths around myth, legend, and folklore. Most children grow up hearing ghost stories, a boogeyman that lurks in their town waiting to snatch them up. Today I'm telling you the story that made me wary of the swamps. I'm taking you to Fouke, Arkansas. The Fouke monster is described as a 6 to 7 foot tall creature with wiry hair, clawed hands, 3 toes on each foot, and glowing red eyes. It is often spotted in the forested swamps of Miller County, Arkansas. Now, the first sighting of this creature is disputed. Some say it was recorded by a settler in 1856. He claimed to have been attacked by a large, hairy man, which to me sounds like he was attacked by a man who just hadn't shaved, but I could be wrong. The next earliest account was in 1908 when a man by the name of Willie Smith said that his sister, when she was around 10 years old, saw the monster at the south end of Mercer Bayou. Now, the account that put Fouke on the map and made the monster famous was from May 3rd, 1971. The previous night, Elizabeth Ford and her husband Bobby were in their home along with his brother Don Ford and his wife Patricia and their friend Charles Taylor. So there were 5 people in this house. Now, the couple, Bobby and Elizabeth, had only bought the house 5 days prior and had been telling the police strange things had been happening every night since. And always at midnight, there would be strange noises, screaming, scratching. One night, Elizabeth even found some strange, what she described as almost humanoid shape, crawling around under their front porch steps. On this night, Elizabeth was sleeping on the couch with the windows open, probably to keep the house cool, and she sees this massive, hairy hand reaching through the window, grabbing at her. At first, she thought it was a bear, but then she said it had claws like nothing she'd ever seen before. It said shotguns were grabbed by Bobby, but Charles and Don also recount using them, so I'm not entirely sure if there was one shotgun that they were sharing or if there were just multiple shotguns lying around. It's highly possible. I mean, it's Arkansas, so anyway, they shot at the creature. It became incredibly angry and it left. But the men said there was a moment when they saw the creature fall and Bobby went to investigate. However, when he did, the women inside began screaming. We never find out why. I looked everywhere I could and never found any follow-up on this, but Bobby ran back, or tried to. When he rushed back to check on them, he was stopped. He says the creature grabbed him and threw him to the ground, and he had to fight it off before it ran off into a field behind the house, and he said it was running at an abnormal speed. Now, they had already called the constable of Fouke, told him what was happening. He came out, gave the place a little look-see, left them with a flashlight and an extra shotgun, and just said, peace. But after Bobby was attacked, he actually had to go to the hospital to get treated for deep gashes left in his back. Now the constable took it seriously. He ended up staying at the house until 5 a.m. For days, the family couldn't sleep. They said the creature would come back at night to torture them. Elizabeth and Bobby ended up buying an RV, packing what they could into it, and leaving because they just couldn't take it anymore. I'm not sure what it was, if it was a person playing a twisted prank or an actual animal, like the police believe. But you can't convince me they weren't actually afraid. They were in their early 20s and had just bought their first house as newlyweds. I can't imagine they would just abandon that. The officers believed in the end it was a cougar or a panther. This was because shortly after Bobby was attacked, a neighbor had reported hearing a woman screaming out in the field or wooded area near their house. And if you've never heard a cougar scream, it sounds like a woman dying. It's absolutely bone chilling. Case in point. Another family that had run-ins with the Fouke monster was the Crabtrees. I can't find much on them except this article. They had their own encounters with the Fouke monster that left them with some trauma, and a filmmaker in Texarkana decided to make some money off of that. In 1972, Charles B. Pierce made a horror flick based off the Crabtrees' experiences, which then turned into a trilogy. The Legend of Boggy Creek, Boggy Creek 2, The Legend Continues, and The Legacy of Boggy Creek. The Crabtrees were very upset, and thus the lawsuit. I've looked at every nook and cranny, and honestly, I can't find out if they won the lawsuit or not. I'm suspecting the lawsuit was dropped since I can't find mention of it anywhere else, which kind of makes me sad. I feel like a lot of these people seeing the Fouke monster aren't making it up. I think they're seeing something. It's just up for debate what that something is, and I don't think it's consistent for every story. Sometimes it's a cougar, like with the Fords, and honestly, who knows what the Crabtrees saw. There were multiple counts in 1 month of people driving down the highway who saw this giant ape creature crossing the road, and police actually believed it might have been like some kind of ape that escaped from somewhere. Again, I couldn't find any information on where that went though, if they found it or whatever. Now, I'm not from Arkansas. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and then moved to Houston, Texas when I was 6 and lived there for 13 years, then moved away. So you might be wondering how I knew this story growing up. Well, my dad. See, he grew up in northwest Louisiana, a place called Bossier City, but he spent a lot of his summers in a town called Spring Hill, which isn't far away from Fouke. My dad grew up hunting in swamps up there, and tales of the Fouke monster were pretty prevalent. In moments when adrenaline is rushing, sometimes our mind can play tricks on us. So if you're looking for a 6-foot-tall gorilla man, sometimes you might just see it. Then again, they have found 6-toed footprints out there, so who's to say there isn't a giant 6-foot-tall gorilla man hiding in the foresty swamps of Miller County, Arkansas? One thing's for sure, the Fouke monster has definitely helped the town. It's a little bitty old thing, but because of this mysterious creature, it's drawn many tourists to the area who have a fascination with cryptids. Locals Denny and Brenda Roberts have cleverly used this urban legend and transformed what used to be a restaurant into what is now known as Monster Mart. This is part monster museum, part convenience store, and a wonderful tourist trap filled with all sorts of Fouke monster paraphernalia. Little spots for you to take your picture, as well as pictures hung of the monster by local artists and pictures of sighting. It's a cool little place that I really would love to go visit. And I do have to begrudgingly give kudos to Charles Pierce. As much as I wish he'd gotten consent from and worked with the Crabtrees, his films reached an international audience. He was an independent filmmaker, but his first film brought in $25 million. In today numbers, that would be $196 million. The fans of these films came to Fouke in droves when the movies were finally restored and transformed from VHS exclusive to DVD in June of 2019. These kinds of crowds and streams of tourists keep a little town like Fouke alive, bringing in revenue for the city, keeping it afloat, especially in difficult times of natural disaster or a global pandemic that we didn't yet know was going to happen. Towns like Fouke often rely on revenue that the monster lurking in their swamp brings in. While many of us want resolution, I doubt we'll be getting that anytime soon. Like most folktales, it's probably going to be passed on for generations, never to be debunked. A special thanks to my dad, who sparked my interest in the story at a very young age. I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to let me know down in the comments what myth, legend, or folklore you would like to see next. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!